Very sad news. A moment unfolded recently that few people ever expected to witness from the Princess of Wales. Catherine sat in front of a camera with a carefully prepared speech in front of her. Like every important royal message, the script had been reviewed, edited, and approved by advisors so that every sentence matched the palace's usual style. For a few moments, she looked at those pages, then quietly placed them aside. Instead of reading the official words, she began speaking from her heart about her youngest son, Prince Louis. There were no notes, no prepared lines, and no indication to palace officials that she intended to change the speech. As she continued, her emotions became impossible to hide. Around the middle of her message, while speaking about Louis, tears filled her eyes. Rather than stopping, she continued speaking through the emotion, making the moment feel even more powerful. For years, Kensington Palace has followed a strict tradition of carefully controlling public appearances and family information. Personal emotions are rarely shown, and anything involving the royal children is normally planned with extreme care. That is why this moment immediately attracted so much attention. The real question was never simply what Catherine said. The bigger question became why someone known for such discipline suddenly chose to speak openly without following the carefully prepared plan. For many months before that recording, people had quietly noticed unusual changes surrounding the Wales family. Public engagements were adjusted without clear explanations, appearances changed at the last minute, and Prince Louis seemed to disappear from several events where many expected to see him. Whenever journalists asked questions, palace officials repeated the same respectful request for privacy and offered no further details. According to this version of events, that silence was not accidental. It reflected a long-standing approach supported strongly by Prince William, who believed that protecting his children from unnecessary public attention was more important than answering every question from the media. He reportedly defended that decision even when advisors warned that prolonged silence might encourage greater speculation. Their concern was that when official information is missing, people often create their own explanations. Yet William remained convinced that keeping his family away from unnecessary attention was the safest choice. At the time, few people realized that the pressure building behind those palace walls was becoming far greater than anyone outside could see. To understand why these decisions mattered so much, it helps to look back at the family's long-term approach to raising their children. Since Prince George's birth in 2013, William and Catherine have consistently tried to give George, Charlotte, and Louis a childhood that feels as normal as possible despite their royal status. Public appearances have always been limited to carefully chosen occasions such as Christmas services, national celebrations, or a handful of official events each year. Many family photographs were taken by Catherine herself rather than professional photographers, allowing the family to control how and when those images were shared. This philosophy was shaped by William's own childhood after the tragic death of his mother, Princess Diana. Experiencing intense media attention at such a young age left a lasting impact on him and influenced his determination to shield his own children from similar pressure. For many years, that strategy appeared successful. However, as circumstances change, the very policy designed to protect the children reportedly began creating new challenges inside the family. It was during this difficult period that emotions, private concerns, and the responsibilities of royal life began colliding in ways that no carefully prepared statement could fully explain. As the months passed, the situation reportedly became more difficult inside the Wales household. Prince Louis, the youngest of the three children, was noticeably absent from several events where he had appeared in previous years. Because there was no public explanation, many royal observers began comparing calendars and tracking each missed appearance. The longer the silence continued, the more questions people started asking. Ironically, the very strategy created to protect the family's privacy was beginning to produce the exact kind of public speculation it was meant to avoid. Despite the growing attention, Prince William remained committed to shielding his son from unnecessary exposure. His priority, according to this account, was ensuring that Louis never felt pressured by public expectations. However, palace advisors believed the continued absence without any explanation could eventually create even greater misunderstandings, both inside and outside the royal household. According to this version of events, one private rehearsal at Windsor became a major emotional turning point. The rehearsal had been arranged quietly so that Prince Louis could become comfortable with an upcoming appearance without facing cameras or large crowds. During the practice, Louis reportedly paused, took his mother's hand, and asked a simple but heartbreaking question. He wanted to know whether he was actually allowed to be seen in public anymore. Catherine was deeply affected by the question because she struggled to find words that could both comfort him and honestly explain the situation. Prince William immediately ended the rehearsal and ensured that George and Charlotte were moved elsewhere so they would not witness the emotional moment. From that day onward, William reportedly suspended every planned appearance involving Louis, believing his son's emotional well-being mattered far more than any public engagement. While his decision came from love and protection, palace officials feared that continuing complete silence would eventually create even greater public curiosity. At the same time, the atmosphere inside the family reportedly began affecting the other children as well. Prince George, old enough to sense that something unusual was happening, became quieter and more thoughtful around the house. He tried to remain calm, believing it was his responsibility to help by causing no additional concern. Princess Charlotte reacted differently. She noticed the whispered conversations, the closed doors, and the sudden silence whenever certain subjects came up. Wanting to support her younger brother, she quietly began leaving handwritten jokes beside Louis's bed, hoping they would make him smile during difficult days. Catherine, meanwhile, was carrying the emotional weight almost entirely on her own. She focused on reassuring all three children, while also trying to protect William from seeing how deeply worried she had become. William was doing exactly the same thing for her, believing he needed to stay strong. As a result, both parents were silently carrying their fears without fully sharing them with each other. According to this account, it was during these difficult weeks that Catherine realized complete silence was no longer helping the family. She began considering whether speaking honestly, while still protecting Louis's privacy, might be the only way to prevent him from believing that he had somehow become the reason everyone around him seemed so worried. One evening, according to this account, Catherine made a decision that would change everything. Instead of relying on the official statement prepared by palace advisors, she sat down alone and wrote her own message by hand. Her words focused less on royal protocol and more on the emotional reality her family had experienced. When Prince William read her version, he immediately understood the risks. He reminded her that once such a message became public, every sentence would be examined, discussed, and remembered for years. His greatest concern was not criticism directed toward himself or the monarchy, it was the possibility that Prince Louis might one day face endless public discussion because of something said during a deeply personal moment. Catherine listened carefully, but gently explained that remaining completely silent was creating a different kind of harm. According to this story, she believed Louis had started wondering whether he was being kept away because there was something wrong with him. Hearing that fear changed the conversation completely. William realized that protecting a child's privacy also meant making sure the child never misunderstood the reason behind that privacy. The story continues by saying that King Charles was later shown Catherine's draft. After reading it carefully, he reportedly believed the message should remain focused on honesty while avoiding unnecessary personal details. One important condition was said to have been added before the statement could be released. Prince Louis himself should hear every word first. Catherine reportedly read the entire message to her son in private, allowing him to understand exactly what would be shared with the public. According to the account, Louis suggested only one small change. Instead of saying that he was doing better, he wanted the message to say he was getting stronger again. Catherine accepted his suggestion immediately because those words reflected hope, determination, and progress rather than weakness. When the recording was finally released, Catherine spoke calmly and sincerely. During the emotional message, She became tearful but continued speaking without stopping. The response from the public was immediate. Thousands of supportive messages appeared online, and many people praised the honesty shown during a moment that felt very different from the carefully managed style normally associated with royal announcements.